Hello everyone, welcome to another Narc Survivor live video. In this one, a new topic, one that I haven't really spoken about before. About when the narcissist finally surrenders. Because for a certain amount of time, it's like they're always competing with you. It's like this constant competition. They're always trying to surpass or outdo you in success and achievements. And it's like you might have a good job, you earn a certain amount of money, and they're trying to outdo you in that. Even though they may not even have a job, maybe they had one before, and they will exaggerate their income. They will make it seem like it's so much more than what it actually is. They will like big themselves up, make themselves seem important. Or it could be something else. Maybe you just got a new home, and then they'll always find someone to compare it to. Whether it's one of their friends, a family member, or they may just find some random person on the internet. It could even be a celebrity. And they will compare your new home to theirs. No matter what you do, they'll always move the goalposts, and they'll always find some way to compete with you. But if you manage to demonstrate a certain level of power and strength to the point where it's practically incomparable, and they can't really triangulate you with anyone at that point because you're still grounded in reality. If you manage to demonstrate that level of power and strength, that is when they will finally surrender. And when I say surrender, I don't mean they're going to get down on their hands and knees and kiss your feet. And I'm sure most of you who are watching this, you don't want to see that anyway. But in fact, what it does mean is that they are no longer going to behave amicably. They're no longer going to be peaceful or contentful around you. And in fact, from that point on, they're going to go from seeing you as their competition to seeing you as their enemy, as someone who they must kill and destroy, someone who they must bring down, because you're showing them up, you're making them look bad, you're making them look like absolute fools, idiots, because there's no possible way that they can even compare to you. There's no possible way that they can even be on your level. And not only that, but at that point, when you demonstrate such a level of power and strength, success and achievements, they haven't even got a family member or friend that they can even compare to you, to minimize you and to make you look small. Especially if you achieve such a standard where it's like, after all the trials and tribulations, all of the suffering, even a celebrity, at that point they could even compare you to them. And this is the point where they will then finally surrender. They're going to give up on doing things the right way, being respectful. I mean, the way that they so arrogantly compete with you is hardly respectful anyway, but they're going to give up on that as well. And instead they will just go all out in a mission to destroy you after that, because you have really bruised their ego. You've deflated that exaggerated sense of self-importance. So now they can no longer feel important around you. And not only that, but wherever they go, whoever they're around, they're constantly remembering you and how you showed them up. You made them look bad. You made them feel like they're not as good as they want to be seen as. Which does cause a huge narcissistic injury. And you're going to know when you have caused a narcissistic injury, because they will let you know that. They will not be able to hold it in. Even if at the very least they are passive aggressive, or in some cases it may be overt. But when you reach a certain level in your success, your healing or development, you achieve a certain standard. That's when they get the message and they understand, all right, we can't behave amicably around you anymore. We can't compete with you in that arena. And being good, righteous, a valuable member of society, whatever it may be, we can't compete with you doing that. And it's like, all right, there's only one other option. We've got to go down. We've got to become corrupt. We've got to start doing the wrong things, because that is the only way that we're ever going to win. And just believe it or not, but in their minds, in their delusional minds, they actually see that as winning. In their minds, they actually believe that they have won by doing that. While to you or I, we would see that as failure, loss. Just makes them losers. Leeches, parasites, bottom feeders, scum of the earth. Pieces of shit. Because you can quite clearly see what they're doing. It's plain, it's evident, it's apparent. It's like, so I was going up to a certain level of achievement and standard. And while all the while before that, while you were keeping me down, you would compete with me and you saw it as a competition. But then it's like when you demonstrate a certain level of power and strength, success and achievements, healing and development, then it's like, there's no way I'm going to be able to climb up there. And then they look at it like the only thing they can do is bring you back down. Because they surrender, they accept defeat, they realize they can't match you. They can't do what you do. So they have no other option than to go against you and to basically cheat. They have to break the rules. The very rules that they may have set themselves at one point. But now they have to go against that. They have to cheat, they have to lie, they have to steal, they have to do whatever they possibly can. And at that point, it's like, there are no rules. There may still be rules for you, but there are no rules for them. Now they're going to play dirty, they're not going to play fair anymore. Because they realize by playing fair, by playing by the rules, there's no possible way that they can ever win. So they have to find a way to limit, contain and restrict you, to prevent you from being free and spreading your wings and flying away. Because they know by giving you the free range, the room to do that, because remember, the entire world is an extension of them, so they see it as though I'm giving you this freedom, I'm giving you this room for you to move and for you to be yourself and for you to do what you want to do. So then they see it as though now we have to restrict this, we have to contain it, because the more room that you have to be free and for you to move, the more you're making them look bad, the more you're making them feel bad about themselves. Because it's like on an even playing field where everything is fair and equal, it's stable, there's an equilibrium, you're just going to show them up because you're just so much better than them. Sadly, a lot of you don't even realize it, but you really are. And I know some of you may look at your lives and you're like, I'm not that successful. I'm not even that physically attractive. But think of it like this. If you didn't go through all of that abuse, all of that sabotage, all of that destruction that they caused in your life, just imagine how much more successful you would be today. Just imagine how much better you would look physically as well. And yet, they always move the goalposts and they will make it out like you're not as good as you think you are. You're not that successful. You're not that attractive. When it's like you can't please this person anyway because that's not even what they want you to be. Which is why when you do succeed and you demonstrate a certain level of power and strength, all they're going to do is come after you and try to destroy you. Because they don't want to see that anyway. They do not want you to be the best version of yourself. What a narcissist wants is for you to be the worst version of yourself. And actually, it's even crazier than that, because this is a narcissist mentality, right? And it's very difficult to really put this together, but this is exactly how they think. They want you to be the worst version of yourself. And at the same time, they want you to be the best version of yourself for them. That's exactly what they want. So they want to keep you in a position where you're under their control and you're restricted, you're not free, you can barely really move or even do anything at that point. You're like a puppet on a string. But then they still want you in a position where you're still able to supply them with the attention, validation, admiration, money and resources that they need. Just think about that for a moment, how crazy that sounds. And it has to be that way for them, because they look at it like, well, if I just give you your freedom, if I just give you the room to go off and do and be who you want to be, then I'm losing control. Then yes, you may be a better source of supply. You may be able to supply me with more energy, money and resources. But who's to say that you won't just run off and give that to someone else? Or just keep it all to yourself? And that's why they have to keep you close and tighten that grip on the reins so that you don't get away. Even though, yes, they may recognize and understand that by doing that, not only is it restricting your freedom, which that's what they want anyway, it's also limiting your ability to become the best version that you can be. So as I said, they want you to be the best, the worst version of yourself. The worst version of yourself for you and for anyone else, but the best version of yourself for them. Yes, as crazy as that sounds. Thanks for the donation. Thank the Lord, I appreciate it. I appreciate all donations, any support to this community. I'm very grateful for that, no matter how small. I appreciate all donations. It helps to invest back into this community. And also, as you may see, I am running a cause for the children in Gaza, many of which don't have any food, no shelter, no safe living conditions. So please, if you can, support this cause for the children in Gaza. You may see the ads on my videos sometimes as well. That's actually how it is over there. Must be a horrible experience for them, so let's do what we can and donate some money to this cause for the children in Gaza. Thank you. But yeah, this is what narcissists want. They want you to be the worst version of yourself. At the same time, the best version of yourself for them. And it's because they need that control. They've got to control you, they've got to restrict you to prevent you from getting away. And that's why, if you do manage to get away, you leave them. And typically what happens is, as soon as you do, your life, your success just shoots up like a rocket. Become more successful, happier, healthier. And then they see it and it's like, all right, let's shoot them down. Let's take them out. Because they're seeing it as though you're getting away. You may be becoming more successful, healthier, happier, all of these things. But then they're seeing it as though you're getting away. So then they're looking at it as though you're not going to come back to them. Which means that they're never going to get any of that for themselves. So you see the connection that I'm making. It's like, what good is it for them if you do become the best version of yourself? That's not going to help them at all. Because then you're going to have the power. It doesn't mean you're just going to stay with them and supply them with whatever they need. And they know that. That's why, as I said in past videos, it's like Cinderella. And that's you, whether you're a man or a woman. You're like Cinderella. Just the male version, maybe. With the wicked stepmother and the two stepsisters. They make you think you're not as great as you actually are. They keep you as the worst version of yourself because that's the only way that they can keep you. And that kind of brings me on to a video that I will be working on very soon and uploading to the channel, which is how narcissists, they actually only get the worst parts of us. Because they have to keep us down in order to contain us, to keep us under their control. So they never get the best parts of you. And I'm sure many of you already know that. From your experiences with them, it's like you can never be yourself. You know, you're not allowed to develop. Some of you aren't even allowed to get a job. You're not allowed to have friends. You're not allowed to go out into the world and become the best version of you. So narcissists, all they ever get is just the crumbs. They get the worst part of you. Because if you weren't with them, you could have been so much more. But then they never would have had that anyway. Because if you were so much more, then you wouldn't have been around them. They typically target us when we are vulnerable. When they can find weaknesses, and that's how they get in. Or they just target our self-esteem and they make us feel like we're not as good as we actually are. And so this is as good as when in fact, no, it's not. You are deserving of far more. You deserve so much more than a toxic, abusive narcissist. Someone who's constantly competing with you, and when they realize that they can't measure up and they're never going to be as good as you, then what do? They go from seeing you as their competition, their opponent, to then viewing you as their enemy. And then they just want to take you down. And a narcissist is the type of person who they can abuse you for years and compete with you all of that time and restrict your growth and development. And then even if somehow you manage to get away, you manage to become successful, happier, healthier, even then they will just come back, sabotage you, ruin it all. And here's the really crazy part about it, and they will still blame you. They will still blame you. I'm sure I asked for no sugar in my tea. I'm not sure if there is any, but it is the lemon flavour, so that could be why. As you can probably tell, I'm quite hyper in this one. That's why I usually try to avoid having too much sugar, because otherwise I'm just bouncing all over the place. But I know many of you love it. You love the high energy, the enthusiasm. Very enthusiastic. But yeah, seriously, this is how it goes. This is how it is. And I'm sure many of you clicked onto this and you were hoping to see or to hear something more positive, where it's like, you know, they surrender, they give up, and maybe they let you lead, they let you have the power for a change because they realize it never works out for them. But no, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen at all. And in fact, when they do surrender, it's pretty much that they surrender on doing things right, on doing things in a moral and correct way. And instead, then they want to go against the grain. Then they want to challenge you. Then they want to bring you down, sabotage you, undermine you, corrupt you, disable you, lessen your power, effectiveness, and ability. Just do whatever it takes to make you less stronger, less powerful than you actually are. That's when they will break their own rules. Or even just, you know, these perhaps unwritten, unspoken rules that we have in society, where there's certain lines that you do not cross, certain things that you do not do, even though you could do it and it may not be against the law. But yeah, they will go ahead and do that. As an example, cheating, lying, I mean, that's technically not against the law. Stealing, of course, that is a serious crime in every country in the entire world. But yeah, they will go and do that. They will steal your money, your possessions, even things where it's like you could be in a partnership with a business with them and they will cut you out of it. You never know what they might do. They can be very unpredictable, because what's happening when you strive to become the best version of yourself, you're moving on to greatness. You're becoming better, stronger, more powerful, more successful, healthier, happier. When they see all of this stuff, it's triggering them to reflect on who they really are. Because the entire time they have this false identity, which is derived from them exercising their influence and control over you. And when you break out of that mold, it's a real shock to them. When it's like, because the entire time they kept you down, criticizing you, insulting you every day, making you feel small, making you feel like you're nothing, making you feel like you'll never be good enough for anyone or anything. And so you'll never find work, you'll never get a job, you'll never make any money, you'll never finish school, whatever it is. You'll never achieve anything great in life. That's how they want you to think, because they derive a sense of their false identity from that. from keeping you there, keeping you stuck. Which is why when you finally break out of that mold and you go out and you do everything they said you couldn't, you become everything they said you would never be. And many of you, you might actually think, I thought they would have been proud of me. I thought they would have congratulated me. I thought they would have said, well done. I knew all along you could do it. But no, instead, it's met with contempt, anger, frustration, coercion and intimidation, where they just want to push you back into that mold, back into that box. Don't grow, don't evolve, don't develop. Stay where you are. Be who you've always been. Be who I made you to be. So that they can then continue to derive their false sense of identity from you. Which, believe it or not, is actually just a projection of these negative traits about themselves, which they disown and assign to you, because they don't want to see or accept that in themselves. So they put that onto you, and then they can project their own self-hatred onto you. And then they've got a reason, a justification for bullying, insulting you, abusing you. You see how it works? That's exactly how it is. That's what they do. That's how it works in their minds. That's how they rationalize it. But then from understanding that, you can see it is actually they who are the ones who are deserving of contempt. It's just they put that onto you. Well, they steal your positive qualities and traits and use them to construct this false character of innocence and naivety, as though they don't know what they're doing, as though they're not doing anything wrong, or as though they're just trying to help, they're just trying to be better, and they're so loving, kind and empathetic, when in fact that is you. It's just they dumped their negative traits onto you, and they stole everything good about you, which they then use to construct this false image for themselves. And this is why so many victims, they come to these communities thinking that they're the narcissist, thinking that something is wrong with them, thinking that they're toxic. And yeah, it's like, if you look back at everything you did for them, all of the times that you tried to make them happy, just make a list of everything that you did and then realize how it was never good enough. And then make another list of what they did for you. What did they ever do for you? Other than take everything that you've got and give you nothing but abuse, lies, and manipulation in return. And that is how you know that all along it wasn't you, it was them. As I've said before, the victim is the one who comes into the relationship with a lot and leaves with little or nothing. The narcissist is the one who comes into the relationship with very little or nothing and leaves with everything. And you can see that clear difference from the beginning to the end of the relationship. You can see who is benefiting and gaining the most and who lost it all. You can quite clearly see that. And yet, many times they manage to gaslight us into making us think that it's us and that we could have done more we could have done better. When in fact, if you look back and you make those two lists, you'll realize that no, in fact, it was them. And that's why typically at the end of the relationship, what do? You try to move on, you try to heal and become better, and as soon as you do that, they can immediately sense it. It's like they have this predatory sixth sense. They know when you're healing, they know when you're moving on. They can see when you're doing better. Because then they know that your energy is slipping away from them, and it's no longer validating this false sense of identity which they derive from you. And that's when they will come back, they will hoover you just to try to bring you down again, just to sabotage your life. On average, a narcissist will hoover their victim 7 times before it's finally all over. Yes, that's how many times they can come back. Because it's like they need you. They derive a sense of their false identity from you. Without that, they've just got a void. You're unknowingly sustaining them. While they're making you believe all the while that you're nothing, that you're not good enough, that you're no good. And yet they're taking all of these things from you and you don't even know it. Your attention, your validation, praise, compliments, money, energy, resources, a place to stay. They're taking all of this stuff from you. But many of you keep looking at yourself thinking that you need to do more, thinking that you need to be better. When in fact, what you should have done, what we all should have done right at the beginning, when we could see that there was no reciprocation and we're just giving and giving out, getting nothing back in return, other than lies and future faking, manipulation and gaslighting. In that moment, we should have recognized, all right, forget it, I'm out. Just take what we got, take it somewhere else to someone who's at least at a similar level of value and can give that exchange, can reciprocate back to us, instead of us just getting drained to the point where we then have nothing left. So in some ways we do need to take accountability for that. That's not to say that they're not at fault and that they're not the wicked, evil people that they are. It's just to say that if we had known, then we could have got out. But then, of course, it's like, in some situations, how do you know? Because you're being manipulated, you're being gaslighted. So it's not always possible for you to know. But there it is. When they finally surrender. And it's not always, well, pretty much it's never as you may want it to be. Where you're thinking, oh, they're going to come back. I mean, pretty much what you're wanting, when you think about it, you may not think about it this way, but it's like, all we are really wanting is for them to see themselves, rather than how they have to see an idealized image of themselves based on this concoction of qualities they like about us and other people before us, but it's a combined to create this idealized character who can't do anything wrong. And it's like we just have to submit to them and give them everything that we've got. So all we really wanted is just for them to see themselves. But it's like if you hold that mirror up to them, what happens? It causes an injury, they get mad. And then at the same time, it's like all we want, it's not just for them to see themselves, but if they could also see us as we actually are, instead of us just having to surrender our entire lives to someone who can't even see or appreciate it. So I guess that's really what we're wanting. It's like to surrender the ego and just accept who they are based on everything they've done, both good and bad, which of course, as we know, that's something that they're never going to do. They're never going to accept all of the wrong that they've committed. They're going to carry on with the delusion, the lies. They're going to keep that going forward for as long as they can, usually until the end of their lives. And that's why, the way I'm describing this, when I say they finally surrender, they just become even more narcissistic. They become malignant, even psychopathic. Because it's like, all right, if this isn't working, if I can't be as I am, compete with you fairly and outdo you in the way that I want to, then I'm going to have to cheat. I'm going to have to lie. I'm going to have to steal. I'm going to have to harm you, destroy you. And that's why that's exactly what they do. That's why they then turn against you, and it's like, 1 minute you were their opponent in what was meant to be a fair competition, and then suddenly now they're breaking the rules. I know you're their enemy. Now they can't stand you, now they want to destroy you. Because they're deriving a sense of identity from you, and they've stolen your qualities, your positive attributes, and it's like, you can't both be you. So for them to be you, they have to destroy you. Because otherwise, they're not going to feel like they are you if you're still you. And yet many of us, we wonder, it's like, why can't we both be great? Why can't we both be something important, successful, whatever it is that is so important to them? But it's like, no, you can't. You may want that. And of course, yes, they know, they can see that's what you want. That you want things to be equal, normal and fair, based on your own qualities and abilities, and that should determine and define who we are and our success in life. But they can't have it that way, because it's like, if you can be you, then how can they be you as well? There can't be two of you. Like, they've seen you, they laid eyes on you, and it's like, that's what drew them to you. They weren't really attracted to you as a person, to where they were desiring to connect to you. It's more, I like what you got. I like looking at you in your life, and it's like, I like these qualities. I like your abilities. I like your success, your money, your achievements, your house, your cars. And then it's like, they want it. They want to be you. They want that for themselves. And then it's just all about concocting a plan of how they're going to get that out of you. How they're going to become you. And if they succeeded in doing that, it's like, at that point, all you can do is try to create a new version of you. Version 2.0. Let them have the old version. They can have the outdated one. You've got a new one now. You're starting again. But then by doing that, They may then try to pull you back into your old ways. They may try to tempt you back into how you were before, because it's like, what good is it? What's the point in me being you when it's like you don't even want to be this version of you anymore? And in fact, now you've moved on and you think you got this new, better version, and I got this old, out of date one. So then it's like, how do I get you back over here to how you were before? And then I can feel like I've got something that you want, something that you desire, this old version of you. But if they can't do that, and just really, your mind is made up and you're moving forward, you're going on to version 2.0 of yourself, then, like the chameleons, the shapeshifters they are, they will then mold themselves into that new version and destroy that as well. And it will just keep going on and on. You have version 3, version 4, version 5, and they'll just keep stealing all of them and destroying them all. Because it's just something about you. I don't know what to say exactly what it is, because I'm just thinking about this on the spot right now. There's something inside of you. Because on the outside, on the surface, it's like even when they get that, they steal that identity from you. But then you can go and create a new version, and then they want that as well. And they want to destroy that in you. Something inside of you, it's your soul. Anything you create, everything you touch just turns to gold. And they see that, they know that. It's like, I guess what it is, it goes back to our childhood, where it's like, we're just functional, healthy people. That's really what it is. We make things happen. We're destined to be successful in whatever we do. Well, as for them, they're toxic, they're dysfunctional. All they do is cause chaos and problems. They destroy everything they get into. They may have destroyed many of you. So maybe that's what it is. Underneath it all, at the core of us, is that you're built to last, you're built to survive, you're destined for success long term. You're destined to heal, grow, and develop. Well, as for them, whatever they do, it just falls apart. And maybe that's why they have to steal it from us. I mean, that is why they have to. Because you've got to think, if they're really so functional and they can do things themselves, I'm sure they would just go off and do it on their own. They wouldn't need you. But they can't. They can't create a sense of identity on their own. They can't create anything. Everything they do, everything they get involved in, they damage it. They destroy it. They behave corruptly, they cheat, they lie, they steal. So of course they're going to get that from you. They could have stolen your identity, and it's like, all right, you're going to have that, I'm going to start again. Version 2.0, here we go. But they'll be back. They'll steal it from you again. They'll destroy your new identity, they'll take it from themselves. Because it's just the fact that you can generate this from within. You're so imaginative, so creative, hardworking, you just got the qualities, the capabilities to make stuff happen. I mean, that's really what it is. You've got that inner power, that inner strength to manifest, to bring things into reality. You're disciplined, you just set out, you're self-motivated. You're like, all right, I'm going to do this, I don't need anyone's help. I'm going to work on this, I'm going to get this done. As for them, they can't get anything done, they can't make anything happen. Do you see anything of value, any success in their lives? Other than things where it's like they manipulated people into giving it to them. They cheated, they stole it. They just can't make stuff happen like you can. So no matter how much you recreate yourself and you grow and develop, they're going to keep coming back and desiring to be the new you. They'll be done with the old you. You're not even going to see that anymore then. All of the things that they stole from you, you won't see that stuff anymore. Because it's like, all right, you don't want this. You don't desire this anymore. That's the old version of you. You don't want it back. So then they're going to start stealing bits and pieces of the new you and making that into a part of their new identity and destroying it in you as well, because you can't both be you. This is why what you need to do, we have to keep continuing to evolve, never stop. Never do what they do, where it's like they steal these bits and pieces of us or their other past sources of supply, and it's like, all right, I'm finished, I'm complete, I'm perfect now, I'm everything I need to be, I don't need to grow. We can't ever do that. We must keep growing, we must keep evolving. And they may keep stealing and destroying these past versions of us, but our mindset is always going to be, all right, doesn't matter. I'm working on the next version of myself. And once that's complete, I'm going to be working on the next version of that as well. And I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep striving forward. And I'm never going to give up. That's the mindset that you need to have. Just move my bag out of the sun because I got my water in my bag. I don't want it to get hot. But yeah, that's the mindset you need to have. Because whatever you've got, whoever you are, whatever version of yourself you are, it's like they're always going to want it, they're always going to envy you, to the point where they're going to set out to steal that from you and to destroy it in you. They're always going to be that way. I mean, that's the whole point. They have a disorder. So that's never going to stop. They're going to be that way until the day they die. And underneath that mask, underneath that false identity, they're going to remain the exact same way for the rest of their lives. The only thing that changes is the mask. And they may have many different masks that they wear for different people, different situations, different parts of their lives. They took on a new mask. Maybe the last one got exposed. Or maybe the person they stole it from, they got bored of it. They got bored of that identity for themselves. So they no longer use that anymore. Because remember, narcissists, they want to be envied. They want to feel like, yeah, I got this identity. This is yours. This is what you want. But now I'm you. They want to leave people feeling that way. So, with that in mind, yeah, they're going to keep coming back to you, stealing from you. As you're healing, you're growing new parts of your identity. And of course, that's backed up by the statistics as well. Because on average, research shows that narcissists do return to their victims 7 times before it's finally all over. And you've got to think, 7 times on average. In some situations, it could be far more. Could be far more. And that's really what they're doing when they keep coming back, is they're just stealing bits and pieces of you. They immediately sense when you're moving on, when you're healing, when you're growing. And that's when they want to come back. Because you're recharged now. got more things going on in your life. It's like you're taking care of yourself better. Maybe you just started going to the gym, you've got some new hobbies and interests. Maybe you're going to church. You've got all of these new things that are strengthening this new version of your identity. So that's what they're coming back for. So they can steal that and make it into a part of themselves. They're chameleons, shapeshifters. Underneath the mask, they remain the same for the rest of their lives. That never changes or grows. But the mask, it does change. The mask is always being recreated, and it's always evolving based on the different people that they come across who they deem to be likable, desirable, attractive, and their qualities or abilities, their appearance, their identity. So they're constantly taking these bits and pieces of people, this concoction which they're adding to this mask. And at the same time, and you need to be aware of this too, it's that when they're coming back to you, if you're accepting the hoover, they may have gone up onto other people and they've revealed certain parts of themselves, they've taken on parts of that new source, and then they're coming back and they're sharing that with you. And not only that, but of course they're always disowning parts of themselves that they don't like and assigning them to you. So you may also find that your identity begins to change a little bit just by you being around them. Because this is what it's like when you're around someone with no sense of self, with an unstable core. It's like when you're around them, it's just they're constantly just disowning these negative parts of themselves and putting them onto you. Because exactly what they want for you to do is to agree with that, own it, accept it as a part of yourself. That's what narcissists want. They want you to accept negative parts of them as parts of yourself. And that's another thing as well, when they see you growing, you're healing, you're moving on, you're no longer fitting into that mold. You're no longer owning these negative parts of them. So they want to come back and give you more of those negative parts again to put you back into that mold, so they can feel like that's not who they are, and they can keep blaming you. But not only that, because if you're healing, you're moving on, you're doing other things, you've got that version 2.0. You've got that version 2.0 now. You're striving forward, you're creating new parts of your identity. So of course, now they want to come back and take that from you. They want to make that a new part of their identity and destroy that in you. And that's how and why they're going to keep coming back. So that's really the process, that's really what's going on, when they do keep coming back to you. And what they typically do as well is they move back and forth between the love bombing and the devaluation. So it's like, 1 minute they've surrendered, they're breaking the rules, they're doing anything they can to sabotage, to destroy you. And then they'll just return to the love bombing, the manipulation. And I say, no, I want to be a good person now. Now I'm going to do things right, I'm going to do things righteously. And it's like they just expect you to forget what they just did a day or a week before, as though that's nothing to do with them, that's not a part of their identity. That's literally how it is. They could just go from one moment to the next and just disown all of their dysfunctional actions and behaviours, as though that's nothing to do with them. Or they'll just blame you for that, or they'll deny it. This is why you can't trust them. This is why they're so unpredictable. You never know what they're going to do next, because They never own up to anything. They've got no core sense of self, no identity. They don't even know who they are. And many of you don't even know who they are because you may have accepted it, you may have agreed to it, that their actions and behaviors do not align with who they actually are. It's really bad. And by them doing that, that's how you know they've got no intention of healing or growing. And that's how you can leave, you can move on with your life. If they can manage to leave you alone and not pull you back in, and then you can check back in with them after 10 years, 20 years, however long it may be. Guaranteed, if they're narcissistic, they're going to be the exact same way. They may have made some changes, some adjustments to their mask. Their manipulation may be more effective now. But underneath that mask, guaranteed it's the exact same person. They never grow, they never change, they stay the exact same way. And they're going to keep doing the exact same things until the day they die. They've just got no drive, no motivation to want to do better, to want to be better, to want to grow, to want to become the best version of themselves. They gave up on that a long time ago, and it's just like, no, let me just steal bits and pieces of you to create my false identity. That's literally how it is for them. Because they can't generate anything from within, or they have no authentic likes or interests of their own. It's never anything where it's like, oh yeah, I like this. This vibes with me, there's something that I'm into. It's not. It's never that way with them. It's just whatever's trending, whatever's popular, whatever's going to get them the most attention, admiration. They're completely unauthentic. They'll go wherever the crowd is, whatever's going to get them that supply. And that's just how it is. That's how it's always going to be with them. And that's why when you demonstrate your power, your strength, your success, achievements, progression, healing and development, they're going to cave in, they're going to submit, they're going to surrender, they're going to bow down to you, metaphorically, by throwing in the towel and trying to sabotage you, bringing you down. Because in that moment they accept, forget about their true self, that died a long time ago. They accept that their false self, this concoction of so many different people from their past, even celebrities or whoever else it may be, they accept that this what do we even call it, this mess, this mixture of different people, different people's qualities and traits, they accept that even that isn't good enough to compete with you. And of course it wouldn't be, because it's not authentic, it's not generated from within. So then it's like, all right, let me cheat, let me lie, let me deceive, let me steal from you. Because this, I'm seeing this as being more valuable, as being superior to me right now. So let me steal from this and add this to me. Maybe then I can be better. Maybe then I can be complete. That's their mentality. And so there's no incentive, there's no motivation for them to ever be their authentic selves. And of course they wouldn't be at this point, because it's like, it's already too late for a lot of them. They missed out on so much time of development, of growth. All of this time they've been manipulating, deceiving people, wearing a mask, So if, it's like even if they could just rip off that mask, that would be no match for you. That would be no match for anyone. And it's like, how many years would they have to spend working on that for it to be finally good enough? And I'll give it to them, to be fair. I mean, when you've abandoned yourself in childhood and you create a false character, and all of your life you've been putting on an act, manipulating people. I don't even know myself if I would have the strength, if I did that my entire life, and then in my 20s, my 30s, not again, but as an adult. I can't even grasp the amount of work that would take. And so it's no surprise why very few of them, if any, ever actually embark on that journey. Because that is a tremendous amount of work. I mean, just to put it into perspective, it's like, as an example, let's say you're 40 years old, a 40-year-old narcissist. Your entire life since you were a child, you had no identity. All you ever did was manipulate and deceive people. You wore a mask. So that means you have what? Potentially, if you're 4-year-old narcissist, 35 years of growth and development to catch up on. Just to then be able to compete in society and to actually be anything of significance and value. That's a tremendous task for anyone. Especially someone who, when we consider the amount of trauma, abuse, and neglect that they must have gone through in their childhood to then abandon themselves. So in that sense, we can kind of have some compassion for them. But then at the same time, it has been scientifically proven that children do know exactly what they're doing. Even as young as 2 or 3 years old, they're fully aware, they're conscious of their actions and the effect that it has on other people. Children at the age of 2 or 3, they can have already learned empathy. So is that any excuse? Because I know for myself and many of you, we didn't do that. We chose to go on the right path. Even though at times we may have been being abused, neglected, we may not have felt good enough. And it just shows we know exactly what we're doing even at that age, even when we're children. So they still made that conscious choice. And as I've said before, it does seem that God does test us even at that age. Because you've got to look at it like this. This all began in their childhood. But looking at it now, where they are now in their lives, and just, I honestly can't imagine the amount of work it would take for them to go back and start again and catch up on all of those years of their life that they missed out on, where they didn't progress, where they didn't construct a true identity and sense of self. That would take a tremendous amount of work. I'm not saying it can't be done. Maybe with intensive therapy, it may be possible. Maybe with God's help. But this is what happens when they surrender. When they accept defeat, when they accept that you are better, greater, superior to them, they can't compete with you, they can't match you. If they can't climb up, if they can't meet you there, they'll just find a way to take you down, to bring you back down to their level, and then manipulate you into seeing yourself as being beneath them. Because that has to be manipulation, there's no other way. Even if they take everything from you, you're not really going to believe that you're beneath them. They've got to trick your mind into thinking that. It can only ever be manipulation, never reality. So that's what they're going to do. When they see that you're better, you're greater, you're superior to them, it's just all about, how do we bring this person down? Because we're not going to climb up there. We're not ever going to be on that level. So it's like the only thing they can do. It's getting really hot here where I am. I think today it's 35 degrees Celsius. And it's meant to increase from 42 degrees up to 51 in some areas. I don't think it's going to get that hot here, but it could definitely get into the 40s. That's why I'm in the shade. The hottest temperature I've ever experienced is around 36 degrees. It's about 2 or 3 years ago. I remember that was a really hot summer. I think that was during the COVID when I came back from Sri Lanka. Those of you may remember when I rented that black Mercedes AMG E400. I was doing some videos in there. Drove back from London in it. And it was just really hot, like sunny every day. Good times, good memories to share with my amazing YouTube family who have supported me all of this way. Couldn't have done it without you, without your support. Anyway, that's it for this message today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Hope it resonated with you. And if it did, you can give it a thumbs up. And let me know what you think in the comment section. Let me know your experiences. I read your comments every day. Hit subscribe and click on notifications so that you will be notified when I upload a new video. And if you would like to donate, you can leave a super chat in the live chat, a super thanks down in the comment section below, or you can go to my PayPal. It is paypal.me/Narc Survivor. And if you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, just go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And I do have my Instagram as well, where I upload new pictures and videos of my travels every day on there to my stories. Check out my Instagram, follow me on there. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. I just have to thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. Again, I appreciate all of you. Thank you all for your support. And I look forward to speaking with you in another live video.